Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Skep Live Online, a production of University of Hawaii Presents, based at the University of Hawaii at Manoa Outreach College. I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors, the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, the University of Hawaii, and Kalanoa Senior Services. We're excited to have you back today, and we hope to have a clear sailing, no problem production today for those of you that came back from yesterday. We'd also love to stay in touch with you and would love your comments and questions throughout today's program. So put them in the chat window if you want to share something with us. And if you want to get on our list to hear about upcoming programs, then send your email to csinfo@hawaii.edu and you'll be sure to know of upcoming programs. Today is our last day with Alton Takiyama-Chung. Alton grew up with the stories, superstitions, and magic of the Hawaiian Islands. He tells stories of the Plantation Days, the Japanese-American experience of World War II, Asian folktales, Hawaiian legends, and of course, ghost stories. He's been a feature teller at the National Storytelling Festivals and at international festivals in the Cayman Islands, Singapore, Vietnam, India, and Thailand. He's also the former chair of the National Storytelling Network. So let's get started and bring on Alton Chung.
Thank you so very much. And thanks to all of you who've been joining us this week. On Tuesday, we had folktales from all over the world. Yesterday, we had plantation stories from Hawaii about the 1930s, 1940s. But today, we have Hawaiian legends and Hawaiian folk tales. So it seems appropriate since we're starting out. We need to go and talk about gods and goddesses of Hawaii. And of course, the one that has taken the most interest and has most stories about is Pele. So it seems that we should start off our program today with a legend from Pele. So how did Pele come to the islands? Well, long time ago, the hidden islands was where gods lived. Pele, the goddess of the volcano, the goddess of fire, was there with her mother, her father, her brothers and sisters. Pele was a beautiful wahine goddess, beautiful female goddess. She was gorgeous. Now, we don't know who started fooling around with who, but Pele started fooling around with her older sister, Namaka Okaahi's husband. Ooh, when Namaka Okaahi found out, she was all hoo-hoo. She was all angry. Oh, both of these girls stay beautiful. Both of these girls stay proud. No forgive. Hissing at each other like cats. Oh, that's terrible. Plenty Pelekina. Lots of trouble between these two. Finally, Pele's father said, hey, enough of this. Pele, gotta go find your own place to live. Oh, wow. Some of Pele's brothers and sisters wanted to go with her. Father said, no can. Pele gotta find her own place first. So her brother, Kamoho Ali'i, the shark god, built a canoe for her, and with two paddlers, Ka'alavi, tide, and Ke'alka, current, they set out. She set out over the rays, paddling. And Pele took this with her, her magic fire digging stick with her. Long time they traveled, till finally they came to the Hawaiian Islands. They came to the island of Kauai. Oh, Pele looked around. Oh, she liked this island. She took her magic fire digging stick and she began digging and digging. She built a crater, volcanic crater. And there, at the very bottom of the crater, she built fire. Fire began burning. The smoke rose up into the sky. And way back on the hidden islands, her older sister, Namaka Okaahi, saw the fire from the smoke from Pele's fire. So she sent her baby sister a home-warming present, a huge wave. She sent the wave going all across the ocean. Wave hit the island, rose up, and splashed into the crater. Put out Pele's fire. Ooh, Pele all wet. She all hoo-hoo. She all angry. Come storming out of her crater. Oh, Kiao Lave, tide, Kiao current, Kiao Ka current. They just sat there. No make eye contact. No sudden movements. Nope. They paddled to the next island. Paddled over to the island of Oahu. This time, Pele, she went way inside the island, away from the coast. Found a nice place. Got her magic digging stick. She dug again. Made a little crater. Inside the crater, she built fire. The smoke rose up into the sky. Back on the hidden islands, Namaka Okaahi, her oldest sister, saw the smoke from Pele's fire. This time she sent another housewarming gift, this time a big storm. She caused it to rain and rain and rain. It rained so much, the rain just put out Pele's fire. All the steam rose up, the water kept rising. Finally, Pele came out, she all angry. Oh, tide and current. Oh, really don't want to make any mistake this time. They paddled over to the next island. Came to the island of Maui. This time Pele, not fooling around, she saw this huge mountain, Haleakala, House of the Sun. She went way up there, and she got her magic digging stick. She dug down, and this time she built fire again. And the smoke rose up into the sky. Back on the hidden islands, Namaka Okai saw her baby sister's smoke from her fire, but this time she couldn't do anything. She sent a big wave. The wave crashed upon the shore. But Haleakala is a mountain. She sent a big storm over, but Haleakala is so tall, the storm couldn't reach above the mountain to get to the crater. So this time, Namaka Okaahi herself went over to the island of Maui. She stood there on the shore and said, "Hey, Pele, you and I, we're going beef. We're going to fight. We're going to settle this thing once and for all." Pele, looking down from the crater, go, "Oh, shoot, bring it on." Oh, and these two sisters went at it. Oh, biting, scratching, pull hair, all kind of the dirty, nasty kind of stuff that only sisters can do. Oh, they fought for days. The ground heaved, the waves crashed upon the shore, the mountain rumbled. And finally, the Maka Okai oldest sister had a little bit more mana, a little bit more power than her baby pipsqueak sister. She finally grabbed hold of Pele, tore her body apart, and she threw her body down upon this hill on Hana side. They call it the Ka'ivi or Pele, the bones of Pele. And she went, "Nah, enough already." She went back to the hidden islands. But Pele, she's a goddess. She cannot die. So her spirit rose up, went over to another island of the big island of Hawaii. There she saw Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea, ho, ho, ho. But she finally settled down in Kilauea. Oh, she liked this place. She built her fire again. The smoke rise up in the sky. This time, back on the hidden islands, Namaka Okahi see the smoke coming, rising up from her baby sister's smoke and fire. And she goes, "Ha! This lady don't know when to quit. Now, I'm going to ignore her. I no care." And after a while, Pele, she built her home there. She got everything just the way she liked it. And she called over to her mother, her father, her brothers, sisters, come visit. She invited everybody over, except Namaka Okaahi. And lots of them came. And now they made their home here, and they've been in the islands ever since. Well, that's a legend. Now, here's a folk tale. Long time ago, on the big island of Hawaii, there was a bay, the Bay of Kohala. And on that bay, there was a village. And the people, even though the bay was filled with fish and squid and lobsters, all kinds of good things to eat, people, they wouldn't go take anything from the bay. They only ate what they could raise in the land, which was sweet potatoes. The last person to go fishing on the bay was Punia's father. And he was eaten by a huge mano, a huge shark named Kai Ali and his 10 minion sharks. So the people stayed away from the bay and only ate the sweet potatoes. And one night, Punia's mother said, "Oh, I wish we could have some lobsters with those sweet potatoes." And Punia said, "Mom, you want lobsters? I'll get you lobsters." So Punia went down to the bay because he knew just about where that huge cave with the fat, juicy lobsters lived. And he stood there on the ledge looking down in the water. And there, lined up in front of the cave, was Kai Ali and his 10 minion sharks. And Punia looked down there and said, "My name is Punia. And I'm going to dive into the water. Dive in the water right there by that sandbar. I'm going to slip into the water. I'm going to swim into the cave, get 2 fat, juicy lobsters for my dinner today. And Kai Ali and his 10 minion sharks won't even know that I was there." Trouble was, Kai Ali was awake. "Wake up, wake up, wake up. Don't move, don't move, don't move." Now, when Punia dives in the water by that sandbar over there, we're going to swim over there and eat him up. Oh boy, we're going to eat Punia. We're going to eat Punia. yeah. Cow. We're gonna eat Punea. This is gonna be great. You too. Shut up. I wonder if Punea is as tasty as his father was. Come on in, Punea. The water's fine. But Punea was akamai. He was smart. Picked up a puhaku, a rock, and he threw it. So it landed with a big splash by that sandbar. Immediately, Kaialiali and the 10 million sharks, they all swam toward that sandbar. But Punea dove this way. Dove down to the water. Held his breath. Went into the cave. Got 2 big fat juicy lobsters and swam back up, climbed back on the ledge and said, Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so very much, Kaialiali, king of Kohala Bay. And thank you to Thin Tail, the shark with a thin tail who told me what to do. Oh, when Kaialiali heard that, everyone, line up. You. Me? Yeah, you, Thin Tail. Come here. Okay. You told the boy what to do. Now you must go. And with that, Kaialiali and his 9 minion sharks chased Thin Tail, the shark with a thin tail, out of Kohala Bay. Well, Punea sat there and stood there on the ledge and saw this one. That's one. Well, a couple days later, Punea's mother said, oh, wait, those lobster was so good to the sweet potatoes. I wish we could have lobsters again with our sweet potatoes. Punea said, Mom, you want lobsters? I'll get you lobsters. And again, he went down to that ledge, overlooking that cave where the fat, juicy lobsters lived, and looked down in the water, and there was Kaialiali and his 9 minion sharks. And Punea said, my name is Punea, and I'm going to dive in the water right over there by that rock that sticks out from the land. I'm going to dive in the water right there, swim into the cave, get 2 fat, juicy lobsters for my dinner tonight, and Kaialiali and his 9 minion sharks won't even know that I was there. Trouble was, Kaialiali was awake. Wake up. Don't move. Now, when Punea dives in the water over there by that rock, we're going to swim over there and we're going to eat him up. Oh boy, cow, we're going to eat Punea. You, shut up. Come on in, Punea. The water's fine. Punea, again, akamai, picked up a pohaku and he threw it. So it landed with a great splash by that rock that just jutted out from the land. And as soon as it did, Kaialiali and his 9 minion sharks, they all swam toward that rock. But Punea dove this way. He dove down the water, went into the cave, selected 2 fat, juicy lobsters for his dinner, swam back up, climbed up back on the ledge and said, Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so very much, Kaialiali, king of Kohala Bay, for these 2 fat, juicy lobsters for my dinner today. And thank you, Opu Nui, the shark with the fat belly, for telling me what to do. Oh, when Kaialiali heard that, all right, everyone, line up. You. Me? Yeah, you, Opu Nui, shark with the fat belly, come here. I don't wanna. I said come here. I can hear you just fine from over here. You told the boy what to do. Now you must go. And so Kaialiali and his 8 minion sharks chased Opunui, the shark with the fat belly, out of Kohala Bay. Well, this went on and on and on until there was only one shark left in Kohala Bay, and that was Kaialiali himself. Now, Punea, he knew he had to do something to get rid of Kaialiali. So he went up into the forest and he got 2 pieces of ironwood, strong wood, tough wood, about 3 feet long. He put that in his bag. And he got the aulima, the stick that you rub with, and the aunaki, the stick that you rub on to make fire. Put those in his bag. Put some charcoal in his bag, put some sweet potatoes in his bag, and he went to his mother and asked her to go and weave him a mat. Weave him a mat with a mesh so fine that water could not pass through. And when she was done, he rolled up that mat, put that in his bag. And he went down to that ledge that overlooked the cave where the fat, juicy lobsters lived. He looked down the water, and there was Kaialiali looking up at him. And he said, "My name is Punea. And if I dive in the water, and Kaialiali bites me, and my blood rises to the surface of the water, my mother will use her magic to bring me back to life. But if Kaialiali swallows me whole, I will surely die. Oh, when Kaialiali heard that, said, "Oh, Punia, I want you to die, Punia. I want you to die. I'm going to open my jaws wide, wide, wide and swallow you down whole because I want you to die, Punia. Come on in. The water's fine." Well, Punia looked down in the water, and there's this huge shark looking up with him with all his jaws full of sharp, pointy teeth. Well, Punia closed his eyes, clutched his bag, and leapt off the ledge. And Kaialiali opened his jaws wide, 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 and gulp, swallowed him down whole. But as soon as Punia slipped between Kaialiali's teeth, he reached into his bag and pulled out those 2 pieces of ironwood, strong wood, tough wood, and shoved them into the corners of Kaialiali's mouth so he couldn't close his jaws. And he began swimming around Kohala Bay. Well, Punia climbed down into Kaialiali's throat, and he pulled out that mat with the mesh so fine that water could not pass through, that his mother wove for him, and he unfurled it and he stuffed it into Kaialiali's throat so that Kaialiali couldn't swallow seawater and drown him. And then he continued down into Kaialiali's opu, his stomach. And there he got the aulima, the stick that you rub with, and the alnaki, the stick that you rub on, and he rubbed them together, and he made fire. And he got the charcoal, and he built a little fire, and he roasted sweet potatoes and had his lunch. Kaialiali is now swimming around Kohala Bay, and he's going, smoke. Someone's cooking lunch. It's me. Oh, my opu is on fire. Ow, ow, ow. And he began swimming around Kohala Bay with his belly on fire. And then he turned and started heading out to sea. And Punia, inside of Kaialiali's opu, heard the change of the sound of the surf. He's heard the big waves breaking upon the outer reef. He climbed back up to Kaialiali's throat. He pulled down that map. He looked out. He saw he was going out to sea. He knew he was in trouble. And he said, the breakers, the breakers. Oh, I am saved. If I can make it to the breakers, I will truly be saved. But if Kaialiali were to swim and leap up high, high, high and land up way up in the sand dunes where the tall grass grows, I will surely die. Kaialiali is mad with pain. He's going, oh, I want you to die, Punia. I want you to die. Oh, I'm going to swim and leap high, high, high into that sand dunes where the tall grass grows because I want you to die, Punia. And Kaialiali turned around and he began swimming faster and faster and faster. And he leapt high, high out of the water, higher than any shark had ever flown. He flew way up and landed in the sand dunes where the tall grass grows. Uh-oh. And Kaialiali lay there because he couldn't do anything, and Punia climbed out of his mouth. He went down to the village and said, bring your knives, bring your spears. Look who's come to visit us today. It's Kaialiali, king of Kohala Bay. So the people brought their knives, and they brought their spears, and they took care of Kaialiali. And from that day on, the people were able to go into the bay. They were able to fish and get the squid and get the crabs and get all the good things to eat from the sea as well as from the land. And Punia and his mother could have lobster any time they pleased. Well, that was a folktale about Punia and Kaialiali. Now, there are many stories about gods, goddesses, and demigods. This next story is about a demigod. It's about Maui. Now, everyone knows Maui. Maui is famous throughout the entire Pacific area. There's stories of him really even down in the Maori people down in New Zealand. He is a demigod. Let's see, Maui, his mother was Hina from Hilo. His father was Akani he was a human. So his mother was a goddess. His father was human. So he was a demigod, half goddess, half god. But he still had great magical powers, and he was a bit of a trickster, always causing trouble. Now, one day, Maui saw his mother. His mother was just looking really depressed. Like, oh, Ma, what's going on? Oh, Maui, my kapa cloth. It cannot dry. The sun is traveling too far across the sky. Great Kala is traveling way too fast. My kapa cloth cannot dry. The dye will smear. It will be ruined. Kapa cloth. In Hawaii, ancient Hawaiians took the inner bark of the mulberry tree, the wauka tree. They soaked it in water. They pounded the fibers flat so they meshed. That became their cloth. And then they would decorate by painting it with dyes or stenciling it to make patterns. My kapa cloth, oh, it will not dry. The dyes will smear. Oh. Maui looked up and he saw indeed Kala, the great sun, was streaming across the sky. And he looked, and the people were in trouble. See, because Kala traveled so quickly across the sky, the crops, the plants did not have time to grow. The plants were small. And then the fishermen, the catches were getting smaller and smaller because the fishermen did not have enough time to go to the deeper water to catch the bigger fish. The people were starving. Oh, someone should go and talk to Kala and tell him, no, to go travel more slowly across the sky. Oh, Maui, no. That great Kala is so powerful. No, you cannot just go and talk to Kala. You will need help. I know. You go up to the top of Haleakala, the house of the sun. At the edge of the crater, there's a great wili tree. Next to the tree is a small hut. That's where your grandmother lives. Huh? Every morning she takes out a big, bright bunch of bananas to feed great Kala. Go up there. And when she puts the bananas out, steal the bananas. She'll be angry, but she appreciates cleverness and she likes you, Maui. Tell her what you want, and maybe she will help you. So that's what Maui did. He made that hard climb all the way to the top of Haleakala. And he got there, it was still dark. And he found, yes, indeed, the wili tree. And right there at the edge of the great volcanic crater, there was a little hut. And so Maui sunk down behind the wili tree and he waited for the sun to come up. But he was tired and he almost fell asleep when he heard, the rooster. He woke up and, sure enough, from out of the hut came his grandmother, carrying this beautiful bunch of ripe bananas. She laid it right there at the edge of the cliff. And when she turned around to go back in the hut, quick as lightning, Maui got up, ran over, grabbed the bananas, and hid behind the wili tree. His grandmother turned and went, I could have sworn I brought the bananas out. Oh, getting old. Oh. And she went back into her hut. And she got another beautiful, bright bunch of bananas and laid it right there on the cliff edge. And when she turned around, again, Maui, from behind the wili tree, ran out, grabbed hold of the bananas, and ran back and hid. And when grandmother turned around, she said, I know I put the bananas out. Who is stealing my bananas? And then from out from behind the wili tree, Maui poked his head. Hi, Grandma. It's I, Maui. Maui, you stealing my bananas. Oh, you naughty boy. What are you doing here, Maui? Maui told her. The people are starving. The plants cannot grow. The fishermen cannot go out long enough in the ocean to catch the big fish. The people are starving. His mother's kapa cloth does not have time to dry because great Kala is traveling too quickly across the sky. Oh, yes. Kala is very willful. Yes, the people are suffering. All right. I will tell you what you need to do, Maui. Go into the forest, collect fibers, strong fibers, tough fibers, olona fibers, and weave them together, make rope, make long ropes, make 16 long ropes. When you've done that, come back up and I'll tell you what to do next. So, Maui went down to the forest. He collected fibers, olona fibers, strong fibers, tough fibers, and he wove them together, and he made long ropes, 16 long ropes. And he picked them up, and he carried them back up to his grandmother's house in Haleakala, house of the sun. Grandmother said, okay, Maui, you see that path, that cave, that's where the sun lives. The path that he walks this way to get his bananas in the morning. Take your 16 ropes, make little nooses out of them, little traps. snares and put them along the path. The sun has 16 legs. Make sure you catch every single one of them. Cinch them tight, tie them to this rope to the willy willy tree. And I will give you my magic axe, just in case Great Kala needs a little more persuasion. And so Maui laid down his 16 Olona fiber ropes as little snares along the path the sun would take to come to get his bananas. And he took his grandmother's magic axe and he held it. And he held behind the willy willy tree and he waited for the dawn to come. And he almost fell asleep again when he heard, oh, he woke up. Oh, Rooster crowed, and sure enough, here came the sun. Sun's glowing foot came out, and we stepped right inside that first noose, that first snare. Maui pulled it tight, tied it to the willy willy tree. The second foot came down. Again, pulled it tight, tied it to the willy willy tree. Third, fourth, fifth, and finally, Great Kala said, oh, what's going on? But too late, his last foot came down inside the snare. Maui pulled it tight, tied it to the willy willy tree. Oh, what is going on? Who dares do this to me, Great Kala? Maui poked his head out. It's I, Maui. You're traveling too quickly across the sky, Great Kala. The people are starving. My mother, her kapa cloth cannot dry. You must slow down so the people can live. I am the Great Kala. I will not do this for you, boy. How dare you do this to me? I will break free. The Olona fibers are too strong. Sun could not break free. All right, Maui. Then I will sit here, and I will not go anywhere. And then your farmers' crops will not grow. They will wither. Fishermen will not be able to go to sea. People will starve, and your mother's kapa cloth will always remain moldy and wet. And you will listen to their screams of their agony. Oh, yeah? Okay. And Maui took out his grandmother's magic axe, and he went up to that first leg of the sun, and he went, crack! Ow, what are you doing, boy? Crack, crack, crack! Ow, stop! Enough, boy. No, it is too hard a job to go continually slowly across the sky. It is hard work. I must have my rest. Okay? How about this? 6 months of the year, you travel slowly across the sky, so the crops have time to grow. The fishermen have time to go and catch the big fish to feed the people, so the people can eat, and my mother's kapa cloth can dry. But the other 6 months of the year, yeah, you may travel quickly across the sky, so that you can rest. The people, oh, they will praise you. They will show you great aloha and much respect, more than you are getting now. Oh, aloha, huh? Respect. Mai kai. It is good. Ai mai kai. Yes, very good. Okay, boy. And so, for 6 months of the year, the sun would travel slowly across the sky. The crops would grow. The fishermen would have time to catch the big fish. The people would feed well. And Maui's mother's kapa cloth could dry. And for the other 6 months of the year, Great Kala would travel quickly across the sky so it could go home and rest. And so it has been ever since. This next story speaks about kupua. Now, kupua are mythical beings in Hawaii, great magical powers. And this one particular story has to do with a particular kupua named Nanaui. Long time ago, chief and chiefess went to go and see the kahuna kilo. The kahuna, the ancient Hawaiian priest who specialized in interpretations of omens and portents. He lived up near the great He'au, great temple. The chief and chiefess went up to go and see him. Now, the chiefess, her name was Hoku, Hoku meaning star. She spoke first because she had more mana. She had more power than her husband. Oh, please, Kona, you must help us. There's a terrible sea monster that is feeding upon our people. And then her husband spoke up. His name was Kamuela. Kamuela meaning Kamuela. Oh, yes, Kona, please, you must help us. There's a huge mano, a huge shark that is eating our people. You must help us break this curse. The old Kahuna looked at them and said, bring me some seawater from the place where the shark was last seen. Seawater was fetched. The Kahuna brought out a big gourd, a big bowl, and he put his pohako kilo, his seeing stone, a polished stone, in the center of this pohako, on this big gourd. He poured in the seawater, and he watched the images that rose to the surface of his polished stone. First image he saw was that of a great mano, a great shark. And then he saw a piece of kapa that turned into a kihe, a shoulder cape. And then he saw the heart-shaped leaves of the uala vine, the sweet potato vine. He could not make out any reasons of why he was seeing these things. So he prayed to the gods, oh please, show me more, show me more. Then again he saw that image of a huge mano, a huge shark with big pointy teeth. Then he saw the image of a man. And then he saw the image of a little fish. And then he saw the image of a butterfly. Then again he saw the image of a huge mano, a huge shark. Again, the Okuna could not puzzle out the meaning of these images that he saw. So he prayed to the gods, again, please, tell me more. The gods heard his prayer. They came and they told him, many, many years ago, there was a beautiful woman by the name of Kale. Kale gave birth to a child with a pair of shark jaws in the middle of his back. For the boy's father was Kamoho Ali'i, the great shark god. And when the child was born, Kamoho Ali'i came to Kale and said, never, ever feed our son meat. For once he tastes it, he will never be able to have enough. So Kale was very careful. She always made her son wear a kihe, a shoulder cape, to hide the shark jaws in the middle of his back. She forbade him from swimming or playing with other children. She always took him to secluded mountain pools to go and bathe. And she never, ever fed him meat. But when he grew into become a young man, he could not eat in the women's eating house anymore. He had to go eat in the men's eating house. And his grandfather wanted him to become a big, strong warrior. So his grandfather fed him meat. And once he tasted it, he could never get enough. And then the old goodness said, the great mano, the great shark that is feeding upon your people, does not live in the sea. No, he lives on land. I see a kihe, a shoulder cape, and I see the heart-shaped leaves of the uala, or sweet potato vines. Hoku and Kamuela looked at each other and said, kihe, uala, Nanawi. Ah, yes, Nanawi. So they thought about Nanawi. Nanawi was a sweet potato farmer. He lived at the edge of the village. He always wore a kihe, no matter how hot the weather. He lived alone and never married. He never went swimming or fishing with anyone. Nanawi. And so the old kahuna told the chief and chiefess what they needed to do to rid themselves of this curse, of this mano that lived on the land and fed upon their people. He told them to go and collect olona fibers, tough fibers, strong fibers from the forest, and to weave a net that was so strong that it could hold the biggest mano they'd ever known, and with the mesh so fine that it would snag the legs of a butterfly. Well, the people worked on this net, and when it was done, they anchored the ends of the net to two strong trees on the bay. And then the men picked up the net and placed it upon their canoes, and they rowed out into the bay. And they stood there upon their canoes and watched. And all the women, all the wahine, swam to the outer edge of the net and began splashing and playing in the water. And all the keiki, all the children, came into the shallows in the mouth of the net and began playing in the water. All this noise. Well, back in his hut, now he heard this commotion. He went down to the rocks, which was his favorite place to spy upon the people. He went down to the rocks and he saw people in the water and he smiled, for he had not fed that day. He took off his kie and he dove into the water and he went deep, deep, deep into the water and he changed into his great mano, his great shark form. And he swam along the bottom of the lagoon. And the men standing on their canoes looking down saw this huge shadow pass beneath their canoes. And they took their paddles and began slapping the water with their paddles. And at that sound, all the keiki, all the children, left the water. All the wahine on the outside of the net, they also left the water too. And they began, the men then released the bottom of the net. The bottom of the net was weighted down with stones. They released it from the canoe and it sank down to the very bottom of the lagoon. And then the women and children began hauling the nets, began closing the net. With all that noise and confusion, Nanaue got confused and he swam into the net. Oh, how dare anyone try to trap him. He tried to bite his way through the net, but the mesh was so fine and was so well crafted he could not bite through it. Then he changed himself to his human form and he swam up to the surface and said, "Oh, Kamuela, it is I, Nanaue." Kamuela stood on his canoe, looked down and said, "Oh, no, Nanaue. We see the shark jaws in the middle of your back. You have fed upon us long enough. Now it is your turn to die." Oh, Nanaue got angry. He transformed himself into a little fish. He tried to swim under the net, but the net was so fine, well made that he couldn't. And then getting closer and closer, it pulled him to shore. Well, then Nanaue then transformed himself into his great mono form again, but it was too late. He was in the shallows. All he could do was splash around in the water. And the people continued to drag him. They pulled him up onto the beach. And that's when Nanaue transformed himself into a butterfly. The net fell away. He began flying away, but quick-thinking Hoku saw this. She grabbed a fold of the net and she threw it in the air, and the mesh snagged the legs of that butterfly and pulled it back down on the beach. Then Nanaue transformed himself to his great shark form again. He tried to bite the people, tried to slash with his tail, but it was too late. They kept dragging him up the beach to the waiting emu. They had dug a deep pit, and they built a big fire, and they put rocks in there, and they heated up the rocks. The rocks were red hot. And they cast Nanaue down. They cast him down into the emu, and they threw in more wood. They burned him, and they burned him for 40 days until he was nothing but gray ash. And after 40 days, Kamuela said, "Nanaue is dead. Now we must celebrate. Now we must dance. Now we must celebrate." And Hoku, his wife, said, "Oh, but my husband, wasn't there one last thing that kahuna told us to do?" "Ah, my darling, we can do that tomorrow. Tonight, Nanaue is dead. We must celebrate." And so the people celebrated. They danced. They celebrated. They feasted. And on that 40th day, Nanaue prayed to his father, Kamoho'ali'i, and Kamoho'ali'i heard his prayer, and he caused it to rain. And he caused it to rain, and it rained, and it rained, and the water filled up that emu, and all that gray ash floated to the surface. And then it began flowing down to the sea, carrying all that gray ash down to the sea. And with each fleck of gray ash that touched the ocean, it turned into a little shark. And so the next morning, when the people rose up and they looked into the ocean, they saw the ocean was filled with thousands upon thousands of little gray sharks. And all of them were hungry, for they had not fed that day. Thank you so very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Thank you for the SCEP program for inviting me here. And thanks a lot for everything, people. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Alton. That was wonderful. And it's an amazing set of stories you told all this week, and it's been fabulous having you with us. One person was wondering whether or not you, because we know you travel around the world doing stories, whether or not you have any trouble translating some of these legends and tales that are very sort of Hawaii specific, that have pidgin elements to them. How do you deal with that issue?
Well, certainly when I tell these stories on the mainland, I have to really pull back on the pidgin, and I really have to just touch into if I say a word pidgin or Hawaiian, I have to immediately give the English translation as well as to keep people in the story. A lot of these stories are culturally specific. Unless people specifically ask for, a Hawaiian type stories or a type of folktale, we have to be very careful about how I match the stories with the audience. Certainly, these stories, this is for more of an adult crowd, so I told more of the bloodthirsty stories. I usually wouldn't do that for young children. So it's, again, matching the stories with the audience and, their expectations. Taking cultural stories like this into another culture and translating into another language that is, going through a translator, you add another dimension of complexity. And so what I have found when I have told stories internationally is that simple folk tales works best. The reason being, I have to go through a translator, and it has to be short. A 10-minute story is now a 20-minute story because it has to be told twice. And so usually I try to keep very short 5-minute stories and folk tales of easily identified characters and easily identified plot lines, so that, and you're doing a lot with your more body, much more physical, much more facial expressions, a lot more gestures, to convey the story. So those are the changes that I would do.
Oh, certainly. Speaking of the gestures, and there seems to be almost a choreography to your stories. Is that intentional, or does that just sort of come naturally to you?
In the stories I told today, no, there's some things that I've worked out, like the shark jaws. That's something I just kind of came up with. The other things that I'm doing with my hands, it's more as I tell the stories over and over again to myself. They come naturally. I can see the physicality of the characters. I know what they're doing. I've had to modify a lot of this stuff because I'm in this little tiny box, and so normally when I'm in a larger con, I have to be bigger and my hand's out here, but you can't see that, and so I have to be pulling in a little bit more. And so these are some of the changes that I've had to go and retool and rethink a lot of these stories. And so part of it for me is making sure that I can be seen, that you can see me, and just trying to adapt. But a lot of this
particular medium,
to this particular medium, right? But a lot of what I'm doing on stage is not something that it's strictly choreographed. I have pieces and I have worked with people and stories that are very tightly choreographed. But a lot of what I'm doing is much more natural. It's much more just trying to convey the story as I'm imagining it.
Well, you do a fabulous job. So
thank you.
I want to thank you for being here this week. I want to welcome all of our guests from the West Coast and other islands and so forth that have joined us today. I also want to thank our sponsors one more time: the National Endowment for the Arts, the Hawaii State Foundational Culture and the Arts, the University of Hawaii, and Kainoa Senior Services. And we hope you will be back. And next week, I've forgotten who we have next week. We have Chamber Music Hawaii next week. That's right, at 10 a.m. Right, three different of their ensembles will play one Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So hope you can come back for that. And if you want another musical treat, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. we have the group Across the Sea, and that should be a wonderful one. That's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night on our YouTube channel. So we are so glad you join us, and we want to thank you, our audience. You make this possible, and we're very happy to have you all with us. So once again, thank you. Stay safe, everyone, and aloha.
Aloha.